Thanks so much, Michael, and thank you so much for having me here at CES. I'm very excited. In fact, we had a race across the Pacific Ocean yesterday, because that's where we were. We were in Shanghai yesterday. So the topic of my talk today, if I might have my slides, is how do you lend money to a machine? Now, in Hong Kong, as you know, I'm made in Hong Kong. We're a major global financial center. And this blockchain technology is very, very interesting because it disintermediates, right? And we are, in fact, one of the world's most famous middlemen and women. So we've been trying to wrestle with what is the impact of this technology and how should we really think about blockchain and cryptocurrencies and AI and IoT. Because IoT is actually just made down the road in Shenzhen. And AI is also very big in China. So today I want to try and weave that together by opening this one very basic question. We know how to lend money to individuals. We learn how to lend money to companies. How on earth do you lend money to a machine, and would that even be a useful thing? Is even that the right question to ask? So if I have my first slide, it's a web link, which is tinyurl.com/digital money CES Pindar, I think. If not, I'll just basically talk more generally about it. So when you look at this technology, it is actually a change in architecture. It's a change in architecture and change of, with that change in architecture from, one would argue, centralized space trust systems to decentralized, you have an associated change in market structure. And that's why it's also a big deal. That change in market structure can be positive, and it can also be negative. But in order to ground this, many of the efficiencies that we see from blockchain technologies, I use a visual example. We basically, okay, thank you very much. If we can just bring that up. Just slide. Or do I am the one in control? Right. Is what we want to try and avoid here is thinking mistakes. Now, last Wednesday was the biggest disclosure, I would argue, in sort of security threats at the silicon level through Meltdown and Spectre. And that basically means the last 20 years of machines that you've bought, you're going to have to rebuy them. That's good business for some, okay? But it also means that there may have been some assumptions there that the machines that you had were, in fact, so-called safe, right? Inside your computer is, in fact, another computer, and perhaps another one in that. So what I'm trying to paint here is when we start looking about cryptocurrencies, and you've been talking about it all day, right? Are you actually talking about the right, or are you actually missing the bigger picture? So as I said, Hong Kong, we believe we're in a changing architecture, and with that changing architecture is this changing set of assumptions. So we've been trying to wrestle without trying to ask this basic questions, which is, how do you lend money to a machine, right? And I'll go through why that's an important question. And the reason why we need to look at assumptions is because the last time we had a big change in assumptions, it was pretty devastating if you were a telco. Right? Remember you had to make those long-distance telephone calls? Right? And you basically bled money. Now, if you understood 25 years ago that when we introduced the internet, that one equation, that distance equals cost, would be destroyed, right? You would have made a lot of money. Right? Nowadays, we put Skype, we stream video as if it's nothing. And kids these days expect it. So what is the fundamental assumption that's going to be challenged by cryptocurrencies, right? And blockchain and all the rest of it? Well, one of them I would say is centralized equals secure, right? It's time and time again, we should treat personally identifiable information like nuclear material. You know, if you gather it in one place, bad stuff happens. Right? Equifax, etc., Target, it goes on and it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. What about another one? This is what we're born with, which is time is money. Well, Bitcoin is a very, very interesting example because it isn't. Data equals money. In fact, it's the first case where an algorithm that generates this data structure, we human beings are the one who provides value in it. Right? I don't know what the price is today. A lot of people are concerned about price. I'm not, even though I'm concerned about value. So even the old stratagems of business, which was divide and conquer, right? In the whole internet era, we had to connect and liberate. if you understood that was the new way of doing business, how could you out-cooperate? You could do very, very well, right? So what are these same conceptual equivalents we have to have with blockchain and cryptocurrencies? Well, I would say it's this. Many of you here are looking at how to make money, right? That's what you hear in business. Some of us, Mike and myself perhaps, are how do we remake money, right? In other words, are the traditional three factors of unit of account, store of value, and what was it, medium of exchange, store of account, and what was the last one? Unit of account? Unit of account, yeah. So it's not really actually about making more money. So I'm not going to give any tips on which cryptocurrency to buy, because there are a few thousand of them. Have a good guess. But actually what we do have an opportunity to do is to redefine it. And I think that really is the opportunity before us, is to unpack those three factors of what we call money: the unit of account, the store of value, and the medium of exchange, and say maybe maybe they don't all need to be clumped together. The unit of account, for example. Nature does not accept US dollars. It doesn't accept RMB. It accepts energy and nutrients. It measures its an entropy. Right? So the unit of account now, we have thousands. We have 194 different fiat currencies. We have a few thousand cryptocurrencies. We could be on the verge of having billions of currencies. But nature only accepts nutrients and energy. Nowadays, for those of you who have Bitcoin or any of the cryptocurrencies, how many of you have any? Yeah, right? Good, good. So you have a bank in your pocket. We are all bankers now, right? And so because we are all bankers now, it really goes to say, so actually, how do we lend money to a machine? And why is this an important question? Is it even the right question? Well, in the end, by 2050, the UN anticipates there's going to be 10 billion of us, and we're going to have to try and feed ourselves, right, in a sustainable manner. But let's compare. If those involved with the Internet of Things space has heard that we're going to be 50 billion devices by 20x. Right? It could be 2025 or what have you. The more important date, I would argue, is 2045, right? Ray Kurzweil's singularity, right? The emergence of AI. Now, the reason why I want to compare these two is because there's a fundamental tension. The efficiencies that we get from this, which is replacing or augmenting legal certainty with cryptographic certainty, right? With an IoT device that measures temperature, solar, right? Couples with it with the proverbial, Hong Kong, we have Bruce Lee, so I'm obliged to bring tricks. The chain, right? Blockchain. The mathematical chains, oh, thank you, man. The mathematical chains that we build now are stronger, right? Whoever has the key, right? He owns the asset. Each of you computers out there just witnessed this asset transfer, right? Go ahead and break it, I gather you. The mathematical locks we're building these days are stronger than this. And that's the point, because if we use cryptography to simplify a lot of it, we also create some new tensions. And so I want to explore the tensions in the last 5 minutes or 4 minutes that I have. Well, this yin-yang tension, right? The positive and negative, the Bitcoin, and we have what here, Spectre. I would say the fundamental tension is not between cryptocurrencies. I think it's actually between AI and cryptocurrencies. Because AI right now, there is a space race, whether or not you know that or not. I've just come across the Pacific Ocean. AI in China is going on ahead, and AI is happening here. That is the new space race. But I think it can be a collaborative space race. China also is #1 in mining Bitcoin, by far, and you know that. So what is the link between the two? Well, some of you have followed, there's a company that does produce a lot of the mining chips and Bitcoin, called Bitmain, and it produced the Sophon BM1680, and I think that's a significant event, because this basically is an AI chip. So why on earth would a Bitcoin company go into an AI chip? Was the last few days you've heard NVIDIA, you probably heard Google's TPU, Tensor Processing Unit 2, you had Intel's Neuro processor, right? what would happen if the criticism for all the energy that's been burned mining AI, it becomes okay then, right? Right? It becomes okay. It's not mining Bitcoin, this rebellious bad boy, bad girl tech. And so this is what's happening now. We are pivoting now. Whoever manages to cooperate with creating an AI TensorFlow mining chip, I think will basically help direct the future. So here's what I'm basically saying, that in fact, AI and crypto are all in one corner. And the real opportunity here is the machine-to-machine economy for the Internet of Threats. No, the Internet of Things. We are actually, because of examples like Spectre and Meltdown, we can no longer trust the hardware. We don't necessarily can trust where it's even made. But with blockchain technologies, we don't necessarily need to care about that. Now, a lot of this will be made in China. It'll be pioneered in China. But I think together we can work together. So what this basically means, excuse me, is some of this architecture is part of, Michael knows this, the Belt and Road blockchain architecture, which I designed. Right? It's basically a change of state for blockchain. It's a blockchain for governance. Provides us change of states of legal liabilities as physical containers, which are locked with smart locks, travel along the Belt and Road. That's just the first example. It has the concept within the Belt and Road blockchain of a registered AI. The AI must be accountable. The registered smart contract, the smart contract must be legally accountable. And this is important for the next step. Next month, I'll be keynoting the IEEE World Forum. What I'm trying to convince the IEEE is to move the computing model from network host to network host wallet. So every device at a very low level will have a wallet in it. So why do this? Well, I'm interested in a joint US, basically AI collaboration. We've heard about the petrodollar. We have the petro yuan coming. You probably mentioned that sometime today. Proof of work algorithms burn energy. You could argue what we would like to have is a petro crypto. And petro crypto is fundamentally needs to be evaluated with all the energy that will be used for processing AI. So what I call that proof of training. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid a race condition among different AI providers, because that doesn't end well for any of us on this planet. And if we can have an alignment with all the processing that we will do, TensorFlow, what have you, via these new chips, mine a token which will be the foundational token for petro crypto, which will drive the machine-to-machine economy, I think we would have done a good thing. Thank you very much.